Hey everybody, this is Will, KO4DFC. My name's Will and I'm a ham, and I am a ham Billy. So if you've been following along with the Chameleon MPAS Lite antenna build series, things have not turned out as I had hoped on the first couple of builds, and that's okay because we're learning. So I have a couple of things I'm going to do today, and we'll hopefully see an improvement in the performance of the antenna. I'm noticing a drop of about 4 S units in terms of receive signal strength between this antenna and a dipole, which, comparing a dipole to this antenna is, it's not the best comparison just because a dipole is going to perform better. This is a compromised antenna. However, I'm seeing stations that should be an S9 come in at about an S5 signal strength. So what I'm going to do, and this was at the recommendation of the eBay seller who made the transformer, so I'll post a link to that in the description. Thank you to that seller. I'm going to take this RG142 coax cable and I'm going to strip it down to just the insulator in the center conductor. I'm not going to use the braid, but I am going to leave this PL259 on the end, and I'm going to connect it to the SO239. And so that's going to give me a better connection to the whip than the ring terminal coming outside of the box and all that stuff. So I'm going to see if that helps. Also, I think the coax is probably going to give me some better performance electrically by winding the unend with that instead of with 14 AWG wire. So anyway, I'm gonna rip this apart. This is the third build, so hopefully third time's a charm. And yeah, I'm gonna get started. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment to click like and subscribe. 97% of my viewers are not subscribed, and if you do subscribe, it will really help the channel out and it'll help me continue to produce great content for you. Okay, so I have pulled the 14 AWG out of the transformer that I use to wind everything. Let me just see how long this is. This is right at 24 inches. So I'm going to need at least about 24 inches again. Hopefully you can see that. It's coming out right at 2 feet. I'm going to need at least that much coax cable to wind the transformer and then make the connection. One thing that I am not going to do right now, we're going to see how it goes without it. If the welds don't break, I had to kind of turn it to pull things out. This connector goes to the center pin, the green wire. That's actually some sprinkler wire that I took and made that connection with. I don't know if that would also be a reason for some of my signal loss, but we're going to wind the transformer first, try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and get that. I'll just replace this wire with the coax, and that should do the trick. All right, I went ahead and put the SO239 connector together with the PL259. This is really hard to get on. I took a couple of pairs of pliers and a hammer even, and made sure to get this in as best as I could. I can't screw this on much more, so hopefully this works out. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but I think there's at least a good connection to the center pin, which is all I really care about. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting with this jacket, just peeling it off. Then I'll get the braid. The braid should come off pretty easily once I get this jacket off. All right, so I've got the jacket off, now I just need to get the braid. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to damage the insulation around the center conductor. So all I'm going to do is just try to cut through this braid without going very deep. A pair of needle nose pliers may help with this. Let's see if I can grab this and start pulling. Okay, so that braid is coming apart, and now it should just slide right off. There we go. So we got braid, and now we have just the center pin inside of, this is PTFE Teflon. So that'll be a good insulator for us. I'm gonna clean this up so that I don't get some kind of short when I put it in the transformer box. Okay, and that is what I'm going to solder to the PCB. All right, so I was able to get everything in here. It's a little ugly. It's crooked. As you can see, there wasn't quite enough room to get the SO239 in there, and I had to essentially screw it on where the box is between the bottom of the nut and the PL259. It would help if I put my multimeter on the right setting. Okay, so we'll go center pin. Yeah, we've got one. Is it intermittent? Maybe a little intermittent. Okay, it's the moment of truth. The antenna is set up, and we're going to check our SWR. I figured out what was going on with the intermittent connection. I had forgotten to solder the coax cable back to the PCB board. So that should be taken care of now. Let's hook it up to our rig expert and see what we get with our SWR check. Okay, so initial check shows that SWR looks a little bit high. It's kind of an interesting pattern there. Anyway, all right, let's hook it up and see if we can receive. So, no waterfall. Not good. As you can hear, it's receiving, but no waterfall. So, I'm gonna guess again that this is an issue with the connection to the center pin going to the whip. Okay, so you may be able to see up there in the top left corner, that's where I soldered the coax to the 14AWG, and it is running to the SS17 up there. This is where I had the Homebrew Cha set up. This is just a workman mount. I have another one, so it's just the workman mount running straight to the SS17. What we're gonna do is hook both of these up on 20 meters and do a signal strength check. And we'll see if we only get about a 2 S unit drop. This one will be resonant on 20, so it should give us a good basis of comparison. This other one, we'll see how it does. This person's coming in between like a...
Looking for signal report and contact number from anyone. Victor Echo 2, November, Tango, Tango.
Yeah, between a 5 and a 7 on the Homebrew Cha. Let's try it out with just the whip. Okay, and this is now just the whip.
Go ahead with the second off, please.
So about a 5.7. I saw him hit 5.9 at the very end on the last transmission when this was running on the Homebrew Cha. So now with just the whip, that was an S7.
November 8, Charlie Sugar Mike.
He's coming in about the same.
You could give me a contact number 1 for my contact.
Maybe a little bit higher. So before it was like a,
Echo 2, November, Tango, Tango, QSS.
I think a 5.6 to 7. Now it's like a 5.7 to 8. Anyways, so those are encouraging results. Also, one more thing worth pointing out. The SO239 on the Workman mount, it works fine with my LMR 400 cable. So I think that the issue is not this SO239. I think the issue is the way that these PL259s are made on the Amazon cable I got. You'll notice at the end of this, there's kind of a big blob of solder on the end of that. It's not, the camera will focus, it's not totally, like, I don't know, it doesn't look as precise as it could be. So also, if you're new ham, this is by far probably the easiest way to get on the air. If you just run a counterpoise off of a CB radio mirror mount and get a ham stick or a whip, I mean, that could give you access to at least a couple of bands. If you get a whip, it'd give you a lot of bands, but it would let you get on the air without having to worry about hanging a dipole or anything like that. We're going to officially test out the Homebrew Chameleon MPAS Lite antenna against the super antenna. They're both verticals. I've had good success with the super antenna. I like it as an antenna. And so today we're going to compare the Homebrew Cha to that antenna that I know and trust. And we'll see how it goes. Let me show you the setup that I have, and then I'm going to get to making some calls and doing a photo activation here at the park. So we've got the super antenna and the Homebrew Cha, and just to show you the setup, it's probably hard to see this on the video, I have the radials for the super antenna running out this way. I have the radial for the Homebrew Cha running out this way. So it should be relatively similar performance, or at least it'll be as similar to conditions as you can get with these two antennas. So I could test this Homebrew Cha against the resonant SS17. However, that would not give me 40 meter capability, and the super antenna is 40 meter capable. So we're going to try this out on 40 meters, compare the two. Then I may switch to 20 meters depending on how things go, and then we'll try there. So let's get going. All right, just to show you something that you can run into relatively frequently with the super antenna is you'll notice that the SWR here is right around a 3.4, which is not great. It's not because these radials don't work, they do. I've hooked this up on the Jeep and it's resonant, done it in my backyard and it's resonant. The terrain can sometimes affect your SWR. So even though this is a little bit high, I will compare this with an SWR reading on the Homebrew Cha, although that's not as relevant because of the transformer. But what I do have is I've got an auto tuner that I'm going to run with the super antenna while I'm running it. So that should still let us transmit on this and be able to get a decent result. Okay, so here is the SWR for the Homebrew Cha, and it looks a little funky. I'm not sure what exactly is causing that. Let's see what 20 gives us here. That is more what I would expect. Now granted, the SS17 is resonant on 20, so that may be why we get that flat SWR reading. Let's try 15. 15 also looks pretty flat. I don't know that it is oh, okay, well, and there it looks fine. So I don't know, maybe I'm getting some kind of weird interference. I'll take another reading there. That looks more how I would expect, so I hope it's not my coax cable. We'll find out, I guess, but that looks very good. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air and listening. So I spotted myself on the POTA app. Hopefully we'll hear some people come in here in a minute. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air and listening. All right, so I've been calling out for several minutes here, spotted myself, and I am not hearing anybody come back, so it may be time to change to 20. I think I'll try changing to 20 meters and see if I can get anybody on there. Yes, this is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie. Who's this?
I'm sorry, not strong enough to bring it out. QRZ, Kilo 2 Bravo.
We'll go all the way up. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
QRZ, Kilowatt 2 Bravo, 13 colonies.
Right. I don't think he was able to hear me. Okay, so I've got the super antenna hooked up. Let's see if K2B is still there.
CQ 13 colonies, Kilowatt 2 Bravo.
He is. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
There was a number 4, but it's very weak. I won't be able to bring it out. Do you want to try one more time?
Let's see. That was at 100%.
QRZ, Kilo 2 Bravo, 13 colonies.
Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
CQ 13 colonies, Kilo 2 Bravo.
All right. He's also still coming in at about an S2 or 3, so I can't get him. It's probably as good as I'll do for today because the rain is coming and I gotta... So I'm back in the Jeep. The rain is about to hit, so I got back just in time. I find it really interesting that K2B heard me on both the Homebrew Cha and the super antenna, and he couldn't quite pull me out. So all that's to say, I think the Homebrew Cha is performing, but I still don't have a confirmed contact with it. So I think what I'm going to do next is, rather than a test with a QRP radio, I think I'm going to just try it right off the Jeep. I'll run the FT891 through the transformer because it's rated for, I think, up to 150 watts. So I'm going to do that and compare that with the super antenna on the roof. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test and listening. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test and listening. KO4DFC back in a minute. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test. Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie calling CQCQ for a radio check and antenna test and listening. Okay, so I have the Homebrew Cha here, which is set up and is quite tall, next to the super antenna, which is much shorter. The super antenna is very reliable as a portable antenna, and it's also a compromise antenna. So what I'm going to do is compare loss in the Homebrew Cha on receive and transmit versus transmit and receive strength on the super antenna. And if they come out about the same, then that's going to be a win.
Delta, and if you stick around, your turn.
November 2 Kilo Echo Delta.
All right, and any other check-ins for the 3905 Country Club? Come now.
Okay, it's 3905 Country Club. I don't know what that is, but net control came in about an S9 there.
All right, we'll put you down for portable in the second round here, Mike.
All right. So let's compare that with the Homebrew Cha. We'll see where our signal strength comes in when net control is calling out.
Up here to the top of the list.
This is on the Homebrew Cha, coming in right at like an S7 or 8, so not much of a drop in signal strength, maybe 2 S units. And this is on 40 meters, so that's good. The super antenna is a compromise antenna, but it is resonant on 40. And so the transformer is at least receiving pretty close.
73 there, Doug. NC4 over, have any last chickens that hold them on that?
Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
Okay, here's somebody way in the background. I could not make sense out there. Well, that's what I would do. I just probably gone to sleep already, Rich. Romeo 5, America Juliet, QNZ.
Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
Kilo Delta 6. Kilowatt Alpha 8 again.
PQQ, thank you for the call. 5N8, 58, over. Okay, Obian now, short, Ogi, OGI, Ogi. Thank you, Mike, 7-3. 7-3, Lima Zulu 2 Alpha Oscar, beaming stateside.
Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
QRZ again, stateside, Lima Zulu 2 Alpha Oscar.
Kilo Oscar 4 Delta Foxtrot Charlie.
Delta Lima Tango, go ahead.
All right, so what do we think about this Homebrew Cha? I've spent several days attempting to make contacts with this antenna, and unfortunately, due to some of the solar storms and things, conditions have not been the best that they could be. So I haven't made a contact on the Homebrew antenna, but I also haven't made a contact on the super antenna, and I know that that super antenna is reliable. Based upon how I saw that receive was coming in at about 2 S units below the super antenna, I think that this is probably a usable antenna. I unfortunately haven't been able to make a contact in order to confirm how I'm getting out on the antenna, but receive looks good. I mean, just to look at this is 40 meters here, and then if I switch over to 20, you can see that we're getting good signals here. I mean, this signal, looks like that signal's coming in about an S5. Good clear signal. If I switch to some of the other bands, this is all FT8 down here. That looked like a voice transmission up there. But yeah, FT8 going on down here. If I switch to 15 meters, not a whole lot of activity, but you do see FT8 again going on down here. Maybe what I should have done is tried to run some digital on here or something. But anyway, also 80 meters, a lot of activity there. So, you know, I think that on the whole, this is a very versatile antenna. I think the compromise situation isn't helping it with the current band conditions, but I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to take that up a summit when I get an opportunity to. I just haven't had a chance to here over the last few weeks. So I'll post another video if I'm able to make contacts off of it, but I think for now I feel okay about the build, and it's operating the way I would expect an antenna to operate. But I feel good about these results. I think this was a good comparison tonight. So thanks everybody, and I will see you later.